Well, hello everyone to the third live stream and day five of Cloudflare DevWeek. And today we're gonna do a recap of Cloudflare DevWeek's day four. It was all about data and storage. That's how I'd like to summarize it because there were a lot of announcements that focused on the products that involve databases and storage. So let's go ahead and share. Let me share the screen and we go through the blog post together. Right. Okay, and we should be now able to see my screen. So we'll go through each announcement one by one and try to just understand what we have over here. And maybe we'll try to also code something with this. Let's see. Now, the first one is all about Super Slurper. If you don't know about Super Slurper, it's a tool that allows you to migrate your data from another cloud storage to R2. And this talks about how Super Slurper has, become 5x faster. It goes into the technical details of it, of how the initial architecture was built, what were the changes for it. Now, this is gonna go very much into a lot of technical details, which I don't want to get into because I want to try to build something in this live stream. So I'll skip that, but I'm just gonna go through this and maybe we can highlight a few things that are shout out in this blog post. So if you don't know, at Cloudflare we use our own products to build the products. So Super Slurper uses workers, queues, and durable objects. Again, all these are a part of the Cloudflare developer platform. And here is like a architecture diagram, how it works, what it does. It gives you also wow, okay, it gives you also like the database layer, how we are using durable objects and hyperdrive as well, and then gives you how this new architecture made Super Slurper 5x faster. All right. Now, again, I'm not going to go into the technical details of this whole blog post, but I would highly encourage you all to read this. It gives a lot of insight into how we at Cloudflare use our own products to build products and are continuously working towards making our products more reliable and more faster for you. I'm sharing the link in the chat for you all to go ahead and check it out. Right. So the first announcement, Super Slurper 5x faster. Super Slurper is a migration tool that allows you to bring your data stored in any of the S3 compatible storage provider to R2. The next thing is more interesting, which is like more interesting for me, which is R2 becoming a data catalog, which means that you store like the data in R2, but now you can store but your R2 now becomes like a data warehouse where you can store all sorts of data and you can connect it with query engines to basically query that data, right? So this is something that has been made available just like yesterday. Now, I am not someone who uses data lakes on a day-to-day basis, so I don't have a lot of insights into this. But if you're someone who is using Snowflake or Apache Iceberg, this is something you should definitely check out. Again, goes through all the details of how it works, gives you kind of an example of how the file looks, and why do you need a data catalog. Now, this is something let's go together. So, although the Iceberg data and metadata files themselves live directly in object storage, the list of tables and pointers to the current metadata need to be tracked centrally by a data catalog. Think of data catalog as a library's index system. While books, your data are physical distributed across shelves. Object storage. Okay, I get that. So books is the data, shelves are the object storage. The index provides a single source of truth about what books exist, the location, and the latest edition. Alright, this makes things more clear. Without this index, readers would waste time searching for the books, might access outdated versions, or could accidentally shelve new books in ways that make them ununified. Alright, similarly, data catalog ensures consistent coordinated access, allowing multiple query engines to safely read from and write to the same tables without conflicts. I love this explanation because, again, as I mentioned, I am not someone who uses data catalogs. So, this is something new for me as well. But this example helps you understand why I would need a data catalog. So, just to iterate over this, if you, I'm going to use the same analogy. Your data can be thought as books, right? And the objects that you use can become the shelves, right? Now, in a library, there are like more than thousands of books, and there are like thousands of shelves storing those books. It would become really difficult for you to find those books by yourself. But it's easy if there is like a index. That's what they're calling it over here. It's easy if there is like an index which tells you which book is placed where and even tells you about the latest edition of that book, right? That information is super useful. And now coming to and translating this to the data catalog, uh, to the data catalog stream, it makes it the query engines. It makes it easier for the query engines to search for this data, or basically query for this data that's again, contains maybe millions of entries, right? Uh, all right, you can go ahead, create this. I am not gonna do this one because I want to try out something different. I want to maybe try out another announcement, which will go in a sec. Uh, iOS says something like Elastic Search can query R2 or like what? I I was I am not sure about this. As I mentioned, I'm not someone who uses data catalogs a lot. I am assuming you can. I am not 100% sure. I know it's like doing Apache Iceberg and Snowflake. So maybe, but again, I'm not the right person to answer this. But that's a good question, and I think I'll try to find that answer for this and maybe write a tutorial about it as well. Awesome. Before jumping into the D1 announcement, I want to go to the pipelines announcement because I did create a bunch of tutorials around pipelines, and I was kind of like the early user of pipelines, and I really enjoyed the whole experience of creating a pipeline and using the pipelines in projects. Now I'm not using this in production because I don't have like a large scale and project, but just understanding how pipelines work and configuring it for a demo application was like a really good experience. Now, yeah, this announcement also comes with the announcement of Arroyo. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Arroyo joining us to make pipelines, to make the experience of pipelines much better. So, uh, congratulations to the folks of Arroyo, and I'm looking forward to working with them. All right, coming back to the pipelines announcement. Now you can again create a pipeline with a Wrangler with a command npm pipelines create. Now these pipelines basically allow you to ingest real-time data into an R2 bucket. So you also need to create an R2 bucket and just specify which bucket you want to put this data in. right? So that's what pipelines allow you to do: ingest real-time data into an R2 bucket. Now, once you create a pipeline, you can uh, push this data into the pipeline. Let me see over here if I can find that in the blog. If again, this blog goes into the technical details of pipelines, how it was built. But all right, okay. So because this does not have that, or maybe it's like written in a fine print, I the way you can ingest data in pipelines is in two different ways. So you can do it via the pipeline's HTTP endpoint. So once you create a pipeline, you get an HTTP endpoint. Let me zoom in a bit. And you can basically call this HTTP endpoint from your application to ingest the data. Now, while I was testing this out, I had a few questions, and one of them was like, hey, fine, it's working with my application. I can ingest the data via the HTTP endpoint, but because I'm using this on the client side, if someone else, like anyone can, go through the source code and get the URL of this. And if they have the URL, they can also start ingesting some data into it and like, basically poison my data. So the team told me like, hey, that's not how it happens. That is a CORS policy that you need to set up for your pipelines, which was something that gave me more confidence about pipelines. So if you are, using the HTTP endpoint, you set up a CORS policy where you specify the origin URL. So this can be again, let's just say, I'm thinking this can be the deployed applications URL or even like your development URL, and you can test it out with this. This can be configured again using the pipelines update command. We have it again, like everything that I'm saying over here is in the tutorial, so you can go ahead and check that out. Now, apart from using the HTTP endpoint, the other way to ingest data through pipelines is using the bindings. So if you have a workers project, you go to your Wrangler file, you add the pipelines binding, and you basically then just push the data or ingest the data to that pipeline using the bindings API. You know what? Let me quickly go through the docs. That would help you understand this better. All right. Let me see pipelines. Okay. If I go to getting started, right, let's go to the tutorial. So ingest data from a worker and analyze using MotherDuck, and you can also create a data lake of clickstream data. I'm going to quickly walk through these two tutorials. So again, you create a new project. This is using worker static assets, and I kept it very simple. So it's just using HTML for the front end. Now in here, we're getting some data from the front end, and yeah, so we're making a call to a /API/clickstream endpoint, and we configure this endpoint in our workers code. All right, we create a bucket, we create a pipeline, all good. Next, in here, you set up a pipelines binding. Once you have the pipelines binding, it's kind of just one line of code, which is env.pipeline.send, and then you pass on the data. That's it. And it will ingest that data into your pipeline. Now you can deploy this application. And now again, as I mentioned, you can query the data we saw previously with the R2 data catalog. But with this, just using just ingesting this into R2, you can query this data using tools like MotherDuck. So again, in the tutorial, I mention the steps of how you can connect your mother duck database to sorry your mother mm, your R2 storage to mother duck and how you can query the data. Going through the other one, create a data lake of clickstream data. This is kind of the same tutorial, but in this, we ingest the data from the client side. So we create a pipeline, we create a bucket, and we generate the clickstream data. And in here, in the fetch, I have left the pipeline URL. Like this is kind of a placeholder, but it would be replaced by this URL that you get when you create a new pipeline. Now, once you do that, you need to update a CORS setting, so the CORS policies, as I mentioned earlier. So again, it's like pipelines update command. You specify which pipeline you want to, have the CORS policies for, and then just pass on the URL. Now, if you're using the same pipeline for testing or like for developing and staging and even production, you need to update the CORS policies every time. So once you deploy it, you get your deployed URL. You need to update that over here. Now, if you just, so over here we're passing like two different URLs because I was using the same pipeline both in development and in production, which you would generally not do that. But because I was doing that, I had to pass on the same, like two different URLs to make sure that the policies are set for both of these URLs and I can, still access that pipeline with these URLs. And then again, you can go in your R2 bucket, view the data, and as in the previous tutorial, you can connect it to MotherDuck to query the data. All right, so this was about pipelines. Now, gonna go to the last announcement, which is kind of my favorite because I know a lot of folks from the community were asking for this. So sequential consistency without borders. It talks about how we've implemented read replication for D1. Now, if you don't know what read replication is, I have a video talking about that. Let me see if I can find a diagram to explain you. Yeah, this diagram is good. All right, let's go with this diagram. So, uh, global read replication basically creates replicas or copies of your primary database. And as it says, it's a read replica, which means that the data will be always read from this database. You never write to these replicas by yourself. D1 takes care of that for you. So this writing to the replicas happen asynchronously, and you don't really need to worry about it. And once you enable read replication for your D1 database, you can do it via the UI or via making a call to the REST endpoint. You would be able to then use read replication with session API. Now this is important to note. You need to use the session API if you want to use replicas, the read replication for your application, because otherwise it's just gonna always make a request or the query is always gonna get executed by your primary database, which kind of defeats the purpose of having read replicas, right? So you need to use a session API, and this diagram kind of really nicely explains what is session API and why you should care about it. So I think there was also an example that talks about like writing data to an e-commerce store. I'm going to try to explain that in with that example. So you have an e-commerce store and your user is has placed an order. So that becomes a write query. So this write query goes into the primary database. Again, all the write queries are always going to go to a primary database. So it goes to the primary database, and with that successful execution of the write query, you get a bookmark. Now, this bookmark is really essential because the next read request you make is going to help you get the sequential result. So when you make a read request using this bookmark, your database replica will look if it has this data available for this particular bookmark. If not, it's gonna wait to get this data from the primary database. Once it has that, it's gonna send you back the data data with a new bookmark, right? So this kind of helps you with making sure that your requests are sequential. Now again, it might be a case where the user made a write request, and another user was also like making the same request, but because they are both in different regions, they both might get different responses on the next read request, and we don't really want that. We want each user to have like the most updated data, and that's what the session API allows you to do, right? So that's what session API is. uh, Again, you can enable read replicas. I think it also goes into the details of how it works under the hood. It's using durable objects, but again, go through the docs. I mean, go through the blog to understand how it works under the hood. And here it is. I'm gonna not go through this. It's again gets very technical, and me reading this and then explaining might not be fun. So I'm gonna skip this. But again, I would encourage you all to go ahead and read this. It is like it covers a lot of interesting details. And yes, this is what or maybe I'll try to. So here's like a session. No, wait, I'm trying to find. Right, you know what? Let's go to the docs, because what I want to show you all is the regions that the replica spin up. Yeah. So as you can see, it spin ups in like kind of all the continents in the globe. Uh, but yeah, it's basically spin ups a database every globally, where wherever D1 is supported, in every region where D1 is supported. And if now you are building an application and your primary data is in East Europe, right? If your primary database is in East Europe, and your user is trying to access your application from, I think this Australia, yeah, Australia. I think this is Australia. I might be wrong, but yeah. But anyway, if your user is trying to access read the data from Australia, they're based in Australia and they're trying to read the data, the read request will be now served from a replica that is close to them in that region, right? So the request is not gonna travel all the way to East Europe just to serve the read request. All right. The docs also, like, shout out to the team for this amazing doc. It goes into a lot of details about read replication. So if you have any questions, hopefully the docs should be able to solve this. All right. Now, what I really wanted to do was build something with read replication. I'm just quickly checking the time. I think we have good enough time. So let me try to see if we want to go through the tutorial or we want to do something completely new. Let's try something completely new, and I'm gonna skip the tutorial part for this. So let me get my terminal over here. Just gonna clear it just for my sanity, and let's do npm create Cloudflare latest, and I'm gonna call this d1 live stream RR for read replication. All right, now I want to use Hono for this. I like building APIs with Hono, or like even like general applications with Hono. So I'm gonna go ahead and select Hono. You can again use any of the frameworks that you want, or you can just go and start with the workers template. All right, it's gonna create a new project for me, install the required dependencies, and yes, let's just say I want to use Git for version control, and I don't want to deploy it for now. I'm gonna go for D1 live stream RR, and I'm gonna open it in Windsurf. All right, in Windsurf, let me first switch it to the light theme so that we have kind of a consistent theme here. Now in this project, we just have the default index route. We have the wrangler.json C file where we're gonna add the D1 bindings, and we have the other general files like the readme file, the package.json file, the tsconfig file, and the worker configuration.ts file, which will contain the types for us. Now let's go ahead and create a new D1 database. I'm going to select npm wrangler, or let's do npx wrangler because I'm not sure which version of wrangler is installed right now. Latest D1 create, and we will call it again live stream RR. My bad. It should be latest. Alright, I am going to use my employee account for this for now. Now, if you have like one single account, you will not get that prompt, but because I have like multiple accounts, I get that prompt. I'm gonna copy my D1 bindings, got in my Wrangler C file, paste it in here, save it, clear it. I should have done this earlier. So I'm just trying to open up my Cloudflare dashboard on another screen. All right, I'm already logged in, so that's good. So I can open it up in here. We'll zoom this a bit more. This should be fine. All right, for this app again, I'm going to open up my D1 dashboard. We have the application in here. Now, if I go to settings, I can enable read application. Right. Read replication is now enabled, so I should be able to use this. But again, right now I am using this, I'm building it locally, so I would not see those things happening kind of locally, but we should be able to do that. Right now that I'm thinking, I think I'll delete this database and try to create a new one, because I want to also pass on a location hint, because by default your database gets created into the location closer to you, right? So this is going to be created in, let's see if we can get that information here. No, I know there was a command npx Wrangler D1 info. I need to pass in the database name. Let's do that. Uh, uh, uh. Nope. Wrong command again. So this should be info and then live stream RR. So what this will do is this will give me the information about my database. Uh, all right, it's running in Europe, which is good, but if I really want to show you the like how read-replication is working, I should try to spin it up in a different region. So I'll try to do that. I'm gonna create a new database. I'm gonna leave this as is for now. Create. Okay, gonna go through the docs. We had a create a data lake global replication. All right. In the create, this is what I wanted. So you can basically specify a location hint. So let's run the command create command again. I'm just trying to think what we can call it. Just have it new location and let's do it in APAC. Now with this, we are passing it a location hint. It's not necessary that it will spin that up in that region, but usually it does. So I'm gonna try now that I stream. I'm gonna try to now get the information for this new database and see where it got spinned up. And it is, as we can see, in APAC, which is fantastic, which is what we wanted. So let's go ahead and copy the bindings for this. And I will replace this because we don't need the previous one. And then let's go to the Cloudflare dashboard. And again, I'm just going to enable read replication. Right, read replication is now enabled, so we should be able to use this. Now, what I want to do for this quick demo is have a post endpoint where we can just pass some data. Let's just say I'm gonna call it ingest, and this will be command Winchef, give me the autocomplete. I mean, this is not the autocomplete I was asking for, but it's fine. So let's run the npm run cf type gen command. This is going to create the types for us. And it's done. All right, so now I'm going to do const db equals this, and then const session equals db dot with session. Now again, using read replication, we have to use the session API. And if I don't pass on a constraint or a bookmark, it's gonna use the, how do I call it, first unconstrained. I think it's for the first unconstrained constraint, right? Once we have this, now again, this is gonna ingest the data. So whatever bookmark or constraint I pass to this one, it's always going to make the query or route that query to my primary database, because this is going to be a write request, right? Let's try to do this. I want to fetch some information from an API and ingest it into a D1 database. I'm gonna try to free open API. Uh, if you have any free open API that you can think of and that we can try out, just let me know in the chat and we'll just go ahead and use that. Uh, I think I might go with this one. Okay. Do you want to do dog facts or cat facts? Uh, 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 I don't want to do pictures, so I'm not going to do anything with the pictures. Let me see. I'm going to go with the. Uh, 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 uh. Ooh, they have a dog data set. That's interesting. But what does it give? Uh, okay, I'm not going to use this. This has a lot of weird ads which I don't want to get on my stream. So let's try. Hopefully, this one does not have that. Ooh, okay. So we have an endpoint which gives us all the facts, or we can just pass on a number to decide how many we want. All right, let's see. Now again, I haven't created a table, so I'm not going to ingest it for now. What I want to do is const dog facts equals okay fetch pass this, and instead of 10 let's do 500, which in that case then I will have to do batching, so let's just do for now 10 or maybe 100. We're gonna see how it works with 100. All right, JSON, and then written this. This is all we're gonna do for now. We're gonna run the application on local dev. Right, it's running. This is a get. All right, for now I'm just gonna make it a get request for the testing purposes. And now if we come over here and do ingest, we get an internal server error. Okay. Ooh, so it did not give us the data. Or it returns something, but huh, uh, I'm not sure if this API is even up and running. Let's do this. Try it out in Postman. Yeah, it says 404 not found. Oh, why that API wasn't working? Is this API working? It is working. All right. And instead of count 3, let's do 100, send it, and we get some data, which is good. This returns an array, which is fine for now, I guess. All right, let's update this to 100. Save this. Come back over here, refresh it. We get the data. Right, but this is not what we want. Copilot knows what we want. That is great. Should be data because of type unknown. That's fine. Then instead of session dot when, it should be session dot prepare and then we do dot bind. Yes. The fact. Huh. Let's ask Windsurf to create the table for us. Create SQLite table for storing. No, I just realized I should zoom in this a bit. This should be better, but again, if you want me to zoom in a bit more, just let me know. Create a SQLite table for storing cat facts. It should have an auto generated ID, fact stored as text, and one more thing we can have is like the created timestamp. What I'm more curious to see is if it would create or run the npx wrangler command for us to create the database, or sorry, to create a table. I did not do that. It's fine. All right, we have a schema.sql file, so we can run that. Now I'm just gonna wait for this to complete. Okay, I'm gonna accept it. Close our server and run again npx wrangler d1. I think I have to pass on the binding name or the table name. Execute. Wait, or was it execute db file? And this is this in source? No, it's on the root. Schema.sql. Oh my god, what's up with me today? I cannot type. WRANGLER. So we have our database. I mean, we have the table in a database. This can be a post request. I mean, we can do a batching over here. Let's see. In the newly created again, I cannot type. Just found another typo. My god. Anyways, I'm just trying to see if this is looks correct. It maybe does. It is looking for like now the types by itself, I guess. So let's see. Let's wait. I'm gonna accept all. Okay, and it's gonna map to that. The fact is gonna be a string. That's true. Then we're gonna find that. Okay. I'm gonna assume this is gonna work. And let's do. Sure, why not? Yeah, I wanted to wrap this up in a try catch block. No, I thought it would allow me to do that. Okay, perfect. Yeah, let's log the error. I'm gonna ignore the types for now, the TypeScript error for now. Just do success true. This, and when that happens, let's look at facts. Okay, this looks fine. And let's do another one. It just gets me, a single fact based on the ID, maybe. Right. I'm not looking at the code that Windsurf is generating for me. I'm just gonna go ahead and hope this is correct. Now, a few things I know is like I'm not sure why it is using batch. It can just be execute. No, wait. Uh, yep, this is what I want. And this can be the result itself. All right, in here, prepare.run. Yeah, we don't want run now. We want this to be bind and then run. I'm gonna save this, assuming it's working. It's gonna work. And right now, let's just return the whole result. There are a bunch of TypeScript errors, so we might run into errors. Let's see. Cool. Now again, this is happening. Sorry, everything over here is gonna happen locally. So let's try test it locally before we jump into production. So I'm going to do npm run dev. Okay, we want to make a post request to our ingest endpoint. So now let's do localhost 877 ingest and do a post request. Object not supported for value. Many cats cannot properly digest cow milk. Milk and milk products give them diarrhea. Type object not supported for value. Huh. We have the fact. We got the fact. So something is not correct in here. If I go back to this, we have the data.data, and then the fact is in each fact has its own array. Am I right? Or no? If I do pretty, no, it does not. It does not. It's an array which contains all the facts. All right. Again, can I ask Windsurf to do this for me? I should close the array and then the object because of wait, your data contains a data which has a string. No, yeah. Data contains now data which has string. So now if we execute this, cannot read properties undefined reading map. Data.data.map. Why? So it should have data, and then this data is containing the data. I think I know what the why we're getting the error. Just gonna quickly check here. Yeah, it should just be this. Yep, yep. The response, I think the earlier was correct. And now should remove it. Save this. And now if we ingest it, the type object is not supported. Statement.point is fact. Obviously, because it was trying to ingest for some reason an array. I don't know why. Right. So that is working. And we should also now be able to fetch the data. So if I do get in here and do, I think we're calling it get facts. Yep. If I send it, it's empty. It should give me all the data because the ingestion happened. That was true. We got this. The response is true. Don't want this anymore. So the ingestion happened. Session prepare to run. No, wait. Yeah, okay. Is bind. It's just binding it, but I'm not running it, right? Need to check the docs for this now. Let's go in here. SQL API, SQL statements. Nope, not SQL statements. Prepare statement method, yes. So do the prepare. Binds a parameter to the prepared statement. All right. So you get the statement, we run the statement. That's fine. The first is going to give me the first result. Uh, so we are, sorry. Okay, so we should basically run this, right? Because this is the batch we create, then we bind it, and then we run it. So the batch is going to return me statements, right? So if I come back, not to bind, but I want the batch. I have done this earlier. I cannot recall it right now. Come on. Free patch statement method does not talk about patch. I think I'm missing something in the documentation then. Huh. There was one example that I did. It should show batch, I think. I, alright, for now I'm just gonna to save us some time. I'm just gonna do this. Just insert this one by one. So for fact and response dot data. Let's go ahead and again to ingest, send it, go to success, come back over here, get facts. Why it is empty? I'm selecting everything and then do a run. The earlier code was running and we were, yeah, so the earlier code was running, we were just not returning the correct values. Good, nice. So we just kind of, yeah, kind of wasted. Never trust, or don't trust AI too much. That should be our lesson. Alright, so we got results. This should result that. This should return that. And here, let's quickly do that again. Perfect, we get the data. And if I do an ID, let's just try 5. We got an error. Type object not supported. For value 5. Type object not supported for value 5. Bind. Okay, for this one, I'm just gonna do results, send it. Const ID, I'm gonna log this and see what I get. And now if I do 5, we get 5. Type object not supported for value 5. This again. Alright, so this should now work for us. Alright, we got this working locally. Now let's quickly push this npx wrangler. Now what I want to do is I want to create this table on, like, create this table in my production. So I'm going to do remote. Say yes. It's going to create the table for us in production. This is complete. All right. Now the next thing I want to do is, because now I want to use this in production, in my Wrangler file, I'll do. Where is npm? Sorry. In my package file, I'll do remote, which will let me access my production database. And right now we are not doing passing any session, right? So I can, because we're not passing any parameters in a session function, it's going to always use first unconstrained. Now we can pass on what do you call it? You can pass on the session, or you can pass on a constraint or a bookmark. So in theory, like, this is just a one-time ingestion, but what you would basically do is you would, now that you have the session, you will get something like a latest bookmark, which would be session.get bookmark, and then you would store the bookmark in the cookie. So this would be, yes, I think. No, I think this is not how you do it. And oh no, it should be set cookie, and then I don't want to pass on any parameters for now. This should be it. Why do I get an error? Okay. I'm gonna again ignore the TypeScript errors. We now get the bookmark. We pass on the bookmark. Now it might happen that we don't have a bookmark, and in that case, I'll just say first unconstrained. I'm assuming the spelling is correct. Doing the same with this. Now, what it's going to do is like for this same session, it's going to use that bookmark and print it, or no, store it in the cookie and then use that. So let's go ahead and see that in action. Over here we have the bookmark. Let me log this. Right. I'm gonna log the bookmark here. And then log the bookmark. And once we have the results, we should also get the latest bookmark. Come on, Venture. No, okay. We'll do it ourselves. And then set this in the cookie again using the set cookie function. Perfect. And again, I'm just gonna log this just so that we can see the updated bookmarks. This should be the test bookmark. You know what? Just gonna add latest bookmark. All right, and we are. I'm going now, like trying to do this quickly because we are kinda over time now. We are over time. So this is done. That should be to npm and dev. There's few other things that I want to show you, but I'm just gonna skip it for now. Yeah, okay. Now once this is done, I can go to post, do ingest, click on send. It's going to ingest all the data to my production database. So while that is happening, let's go to our new databases dashboard. It's gonna take a couple of seconds, I guess, because it's like making. Oh my god! Okay, I should not have done it. I should have used batches. This was not a good idea. But right, so we have that, and we get a bookmark. Right. Now that we have this bookmark, let's go ahead and get this information. So I'm gonna again go to get and to get facts. Send this, and as you can see, we use the bookmark that was used in the return request. We get that data, and because like there was no change in the data, it's gonna return as the same bookmark. So if you look at this is the same bookmark as earlier. And if I want to query, let's just say the 99th cat fact, I'm gonna send it. There is no data for that. Okay. It's going to 95. We did 100, right? Or not? Okay, I'm curious, like if it even at 100 facts. Let's go with the lower number 15. Yeah. And for each of these, as we can see now, for all the requests that we make, it's still using kind of the same bookmark because, again, no new data got written and it is giving us the latest information from the last bookmark that was created when the data got written onto a database, right? So again, this was like a quick, not a quick, but yeah, I try to do like a quick showcase of how you can do read application with D1. And I can deploy it and you can check it in production as well. I'm not going to do it because we are running out of time. The tutorial is already available in the docs. So if you go to, let me open up again the D1 docs. All right, it's gonna go through this. Uh, D1. If you go to tutorials using D1 Read application for your e-commerce website. So this is the tutorial that you can, go ahead, check it out. If you just want to deploy the application and just have fun, you can click on that button. It will take you to the flow where you can, deploy it. So I can select an account, give the name of the worker. It it will automatically provision your D1 database. You can also enable replication by default. You can select which region you want to use this and just use it out of the box, right? So that was it for this live stream, and I know that we already have made the announcement for day 6. So if I refresh the page, or if it's doing it for me, it's gonna refresh the page, and as you can see, we already have the blog post out for this one. Now this is the last day, so I will not be going through. I won't have time to do the live stream for this one, but as you can see, there are updates for AI. There is certificate transparency. Oh, nice. National Center of Missing Expedition report miss. Wow. Okay, this is. There are a lot of interesting things in this announcement that we have. Simple, scalable, and global containers are coming to Cloudflare workers in June. I know a lot of people have been talking about containers on Cloudflare workers or Cloudflare. So it's coming out in June. We have been kind of trying it internally a lot, giving the feedback to the team. So I'm excited for you all to try it out. And worker VPC is something I have talked to folks, and I am sure like this is another thing that mainly for like the enterprise developers is going to be super interesting. So I'm excited about this as well. Now again, I haven't gone through this. I'm gonna go through this after the live stream, but yeah, thank you again for joining in the live stream, and hope to see you all in the next one. Till then, enjoy and have a good Friday, and enjoy your weekend. See you in the next one.